He bushed through my door like a storm that had lost its name. As wild, voices sucking the air, oh cold you say de condo. I promised it to my wife. For a moment, time didn't move. His words hit me harder than an slap cold. My son, my own blood, shouting at me as if he were a stranger stealing from him. Behind him, Taza clucked her chest, gasping like a woman betrayed. I didn't raise my voice. I just looked at him, calm as still water, and said, "There's a second piece of news you need to hear." That was when the tremor started in his hands, the kind you get when the ground shifts beneath your feet. But Mom, stammered. My wife and I have nowhere to go. We can't live on the street. I looked at that boy. The one I raised, the one who used to run into my arms after school with pockets full of candy and dreams. And I could think was how far away that boy had gone. Because once upon a time, I trembled like him, I begged, I swallowed my pain with a polite smile. But that woman, the one who blinked at the very stone, said wasn't life anymore. My name is Clara Mae Johnson, and I'm 65 years old. Until 6 months ago, I was invisible, to my son, to my daughter-in-law, even to myself. I lived in that poor bedroom condo for 30 years with my late husband. Thomas, it wasn't fancy, water stains in the corners. A kitchen barely big enough for 2 people. But it was ours, the one place in the world that still remembered what we used to be. When Thomas passed, he went softly, like a siege leaving the room. No warning, no goodbye, and when he left, silence came to life with me. I brewed coffee every morning, swept the same floor, watched the same window, waiting for something and think to remind me still existed. Devon, my son, was supposed to be that reminder. After his father's death, he took what broke closer. He took grief all windows the while of uncessed. But instead, he drifted, on a case every 2 weeks. Visits at Christmas, more duty than affection. And that time came by. I saw the same look, impatience addressed as kindness. It sit on my cock scrolling through his phone. Nodding without listening. I'd ask about work. I'd say, busy. I'd ask about Taza. I'd say, fine. The whole household filled with silence it cannot to cook on. Still, I smiled, because a muted wasn't stop loving. She just learns to love in small doses. The way you learn to sip tea on a cold. When Taza first entered Olives, she smiled bright, called me, Mama Clara. Broke flowers that wilted in a day. I wanted to believe her warmth was real. But love that keep burns out even faster. And soon enough, I saw the truth behind her eyes, the calculating glance that weighed very well. A very piece of furniture, as if the whole place were an inheritance waiting for her signature. That's when I realized he wasn't just old in the eyes. He was temporary. So when my son shouted that morning, demanding the hand over the Salamonei, he didn't say rage, he saw fear. Fear of losing control over something he never owned. What I didn't know was that this story didn't start with that argument. It started months earlier, the night I stopped waiting for love to make me visible again and decided to make myself impossible to ignore. When you live alone long enough, silence starts to breathe. It expands and contracts with a very heartbeat, whispering memories into the corners of your home. My silence had a name, Devon. After Thomas passed, I kept the condo just the way I left it. His jacket still hung by the door. His shaving kit still sat by the bathroom mirror. I dusted it every week, careful not to disturb the order of things, as if the didn't call someone him back. Mornings were the hardest. The coffee makes sputtered like it was grieving too. The smell filling the air with ghosts. I'd sit at the window, cup warm in my hand. I fished on nothing in particular. It was a bit more than hope. Devon didn't come around much. I told myself it was normal, as had a wife, a job, a life, but evenly as you tell yourself start to lose a flavor when they are repeated too many times. When I did visit, it was always the same. A knock, a siege, then that polite smile that never wrecked his eyes. He'd sit down without saying much, scrolling through his phone like the screen held more meaning than my face. How are you, Mom? I'd ask. I'm fine, son, and you? Busy? Then silence, that heavy kind of silence that weighs on your ribs until breathing feels like work. I'd offer him coffee, I'd say I didn't have time. I'd ask about Taza, I'd answer with on word sentences. I'd tell him about the neighbor's new puppy. And the glance at his what like a very minute was a minute stolen from something better. Still, Smilet, because a mute's smile even when their hearts crack. We keep smiling until it becomes a mask we forget we're wearing. Then come Taza, beautiful. Bright, charming in that way people are when they know exactly how much they're being watched. When she first came into a home, she called me, Mama Clara, in that sugary voice that stuck to my skin like syrup. She brought flowers from the grocery store, careful, dying by morning. And for a moment, I let myself believe, I wanted to believe, after years of silence, a kind of attention feels like love. But love doesn't fade after the first season. Pretending does. It started with little comments. Mama Clara, this sofa's ancient, you should replace it. I don't have the money for that. It all share. She smiled sweetly. Well, when this place is ours, we'll renovate everything. When it's ours, the words stuck like splinters. Then came the dinner I never forget. I spent hours cooking smothered pork chops. The kind the bone used to beg for when I was a boy. The smell filled the apartment like comfort itself. But Taza barely took a share plate. It's a little salty, isn't it, Deb? And my son, my only son, nodded without even looking up. They left their plates full. They words empty. They looked to calm down the UI as he stood there washing dishes in silence. That night, something inside me shifted. I didn't cry. I just stared at the bubbles sliding down my hands and realized they turned cold. Weeks passed like that, smile cuts dressed up as conversations. A very visit left me smaller. A very work kept away at the woman used to be. Then came that Tuesday. The day I stopped pretending not to. I was in the bathroom when I heard their voices. They hadn't told me they were coming. And something about their tone made me still. I turned off the tap and listened. How much do you think this place is worth? Taza asked. Maybe 280. Devon said. With that, we could finally put a down payment on a real house. Taza laughed softly. But your mom won't sell. We'll see. Nah, I said. By slow and careless. But she's not gonna live forever. When she goes, this place is mine. Taza sighed, relieved. Thank goodness, honestly, I don't know how much longer I can pretend to like her. I covered my mouth to keep from making a sound. My knees trembled, the tears came, hot and bitter, but they weren't sadness anymore. It was the death of illusion. When I finally came out, they were on the sofa. Taza smiled like nothing had happened. Mama Clara, what a surprise. We didn't know you were home. Ali wrapped in on ell. Devon didn't even look up. He just scrolled, his thumb moving like a bit. I smiled back. I offered them coffee. They said no. When they left, I sat on that same sofa. The one Taza called ancient. And asked myself, when did I become this? Someone waiting for Sharon that just to stop being an inconvenience. That night, the city noise outside sounded different, like life was happening somewhere else. For someone else, and somewhere between that loneliness and the dark. I made a decision. The next morning, I woke up different. It wasn't anger, it was something colder. Steady, the kind of strength that comes after your tears have run dry. I brewed my coffee, but instead of sitting by the window, I took out a notebook. I wrote down everything, a very insult, a very glance, a very word that could. By the time I stopped, 5 pages were full. 5 pages of proof that I hadn't imagined it, that I hadn't lost my mind, that I had been used, dismissed, and diminished. After that, the visits changed. They came more often, but not for me. For the condo, for what it represented. One afternoon, Devon said, Mom, we need to talk about something important. I didn't even sit down before speaking. Taza and I are counting. Everything's expensive. Maybe you could use this place. Family price, of course. Family price, the words tasted like rust. I'm not ready to sell. He said, this place holds too many memories. Devon frowned. Mom, don't be selfish. At your age, what's the point of clinging to material things? Taza nodded, feigning tears, but we already made plans. Mama Clara. Plans. They made plans with my home as the foundation. And in the blueprints, I was already gone. They left, satisfied, Certain night cave eventually, because I always did. But that day, as the door closed, something hard and steady rose inside me. Over the next weeks, the messages came like rain, constant. Insistent, Mom, have you talked about what we talked about? We found the perfect house. Don't be difficult. Equan keep away at my patience. Equan fed the fire take on say. Then one day at the bank, you were to woman talking. My mother-in-law sold her house. One said, bought as my condo. When traveling, said she worked for others her whole life, now she wants to live for herself. The hotel outjet, her family must be bien furious. She said, it's my life, not theirs. Those words landed like thunder in my chest. My life, not theirs. I walked out of that bank with my spine straightened and it had been in years. By the time I reached home, my decision was already made. That evening, I called the real estate agent. My voice trembled only once when he said, I want to sell my condo fast. Quietly. The next morning, a man came with candies and a clipboard. It could say for 280. He said, Mabel as if you want speed. I want speed. I asked if he needed to consult my family. I looked him dead in the eye. No, it's my decision. Within a week, there was a young couple needing to move quickly. They offered to 70 cash. I signed without hesitation. Willa the bone kept calling to, check on my decision. I was already moving out. Packing memories, selling furniture, keeping only what truly mattered, a few books. Thomas Photo, my piazza. I found a smile on a bedroom condo across town. Sunlit through the windows. Quiet streets, I paid in full. No mortgage, no debt, no witnesses. For the first time in 7 years, I breathed without guilt. The space smelled of paint and freedom. And as I sat there among unpacked boxes, I knew the storm was coming. The bone wall thinned out soon enough. His outrage would arrive like thunder. But this time, I was ready. I had the sale papers, the bank receipts, and something strange recordings. A very word they'd said about me, captured in cold digital truth. I wasn't planning revenge, I was preparing proof. Because I'd learned something when you've been invisible long enough. The first step to freedom isn't being seen, it's refusing to disappear. 3 weeks passed before the storm found my door. The bones name lit up my pone every evening. His voice carried that forced calm people use when things witness will open locked doors. Mom, have you talked more about the condo? I'm still thinking, son. Silence, then the sound of him exhaling through his teeth. Impatient. There's a whole text afterward, long messages filled with emojis and guilt. Think about the grandkids you could have one day. Mama Clara. Don't you want them to grow up in a nice house? They kept saying family, but what they meant was property. Awkward felt like tugging at the small piece of peace I'd finally built. I didn't block the calls. I wanted to exactly how far they'd go. Then one night, the bones voice came through sharp glass. Mom, we found the house. We need an answer by Friday. An answer to what? I asked. To what you're going to help your only family. There it was, the line that pretends to be love but smells like the man. I'll think about it, he said again, calm and slow. I hung up without a goodbye. That Friday, a knock came instead of a call. When you opened the door, both of them stood there, as smiling to with. The bone holding a manila fold like a weapon made of paper. We talked face to face all busy. Taz said. For what? For signing, the bone answered, stepping inside before I invited him. I laid the papers on my dining table and of favorite note. Complete with numbers, a family discount that still would have left me barely enough to move anywhere decent. The bone, he said quietly, this isn't a family talk. This is how we talk. I frowned, shouted, you're making this harder than it needs to be. I sat across from him, folded my hands, and looked straight into his eyes. When your father and I bought this place, we paid very duly ourselves. Nobody gave us discounts. Nobody told us we owed them a home. I looked away, cage coloring, Taz's smile thinned. But we're not strangers, Mama Clara, she said softly. We're your children. You're my son and his wife. That's family, yes, but family doesn't mean ownership. For a long moment, no one spoke. The air met with unsaid things. Then the bones pon buzzed. He ignored it. His tone drooped. At your age, you should be thinking about security. You could live with us. You won't have to worry. He almost laughed. He already don't worry. The words surprised even me. They came from somewhere new, somewhere steady. He pushed the papers toward me. At least look, we're giving you more than 5 value. He already know the value, he said, and I've already decided what to do with it. He froze. What do you mean? Nothing you need to worry about yet. T'has alienate forward, is narrowing. Are you planning to sell to someone else? He met her stare and smiled faintly. I'm planning to live my life. That's all. The conversation crumbled after that. The bon gathered the papers with a snap and muttered. Fine, have it your way. They left, the scent of their perfume and frustration trailing behind. When the door closed, he exhaled the breath I'd been holding since Thomas died. The street kept yet after that. He painted my strokes of peace into my mornings, watering the plant by the window. Baking muffins for the building superintendent. Writing my lists of gratitude. But peace never lasts long when someone thinks they're away your soul. The next week, he was at the grocery store when he saw them again. T'has spotted me first, standing near the produce aisle. Her face lit up, rehearsed and polite. Mama Clara, what a coincidence. He looked down at my basket, milk, bread, 2 apples and smiled thinly. Indeed. She followed me from aisle to aisle, talking about nothing and everything until her real motive spilled out. You know, the house we wanted, the owners giving us until next Wednesday. After that, it's gone. She paused, waiting. You get it, he said, picking up a jar of jam. Her voice trembled, but not from sadness, from control slipping away. The bonsai doesn't understand what happened to you. You used to be kind. He turned to her, holding her gaze. Kindness isn't the same as surrender. She blinked hard, then murmured something about being late and walked off. In that moment, he realized something new. People who mistake obedience for love will always call you cruel the day you stop obeying. 2 days later, my phone rang again. The phone. Mom, please, he said, soften now. T'has been crying. We can't sleep. That's unfortunate. He said, can't you at least tell us your decision? He hesitated, almost feeling sorry for him, almost. Then he talked about the years of empty dinners, the birthdays forgotten, the time he called on Christmas just to ask about money. My decision, he said slowly, is to do what's best for me. He didn't like that answer. The next sound he heard was the click of disconnection. That night, he couldn't sleep but for a different reason. Not from guilt, but from clarity. A week passed. Then came the dinner invitation. It was almost sweet, the way the bon present it, we haven't gone out to jet in ages. Mom, how treat? I knew exactly what it was, one last performance before the curtain fell. But he accepted. Sometimes the best way to end the way is to walk calmly onto the battlefield and let truth do the fighting. He wore my cuculata brown dress. The one Thomas once said made me look like autumn sunlight. When he arrived, Taz's smile was bright but brittle. The bon pulled out a key. You look nice, Mom. I know, he said, and sat down. For a while, we danced the polite dance work talk. We ate talk, smile talk. Then the bon cleared his throat. Mom, we're worried about you living alone. I nodded, letting him continue. What if something happens? A fall, a alt issue, you need to be closer to us. T'has alienated, I concern and only. You could move in, or at least say your condo and stay nearby. We could help you handle everything. I sipped my water, that's too full. They waited for gratitude that never came. Taz tried again. We already found the perfect house. We just need the down payment. Maybe you could lend us part of what you'll get from selling. Lend, i esquet, or give. De bons ja ho titanet, you know what pay you back. No, he said quietly, it know you believe you would. Teis miles faltaret. The waiter arrived with plates we hardly took it. De bon precedent, by a rogue now, Mom, this isn't complicated, we need to move forward. You're holding us back. He set my fork down gently. You mean, I'm not being on schedule. Stared, speechless, Taz's face went pale. I leaned forward, calm and deliberate. 4 years, I gave you everything you asked for, time, money, forgiveness, and the very time. You took it like it was wet. But this is where I stop. Taz's voice cracked. We just want a family home. He smiled sadly, then build one with your own hands. The way we did. The bones and Jeff finally broke through. You're being unreasonable. No, he said softly, I'm being alive. The silence that followed was colder than winter. When the bee came, the bone to set down his card without looking at me. Stay walked me to the car. Taz forced one last plea. Think hard, Mama Clara, we don't want to pressure you. We just want the best for everyone. The best for everyone, he echoed, often means the worst for someone. They didn't reply. After that night, the messages became desperate. Photos of the house. Paragraphs of emotional blackmail. It is a garden, Mama Clara, imagine the grandkids playing there. Every word was a kind they wanted me to wear willingly. But I had already learned how to live unkind. Then one morning, Taz appeared at my old building without warning. Her eyes were red, her tone trembled. I came to apologize, she said, the bond doesn't know a mere. We sat in the empty living room. The walls echoed our story. It no we pushed too hard. She continued, we were just scared, life is expensive, and you have something that could help. Help, he repeated, or solve everything for you. Taz looked away, you think we're monsters. I think you're human, he said, but humanity doesn't excuse entitlement. Her lips quivered, we love you, Mama Clara. I studied her face, the practiced tears, the soft words. Love that comes with a list of conditions isn't love, it's leverage. I don't doubt you feel something, he said quietly, but if you loved me, you'd visit even when there's nothing to gain. Her silence was the answer. After a while, she stood, I think I came at a bad time. He smiled gently, no, you came exactly when I needed to remember why I made my case. She hesitated at the door. You'll regret this. I already regret how long it took to learn better. When she left, the echo of her footsteps felt like a final chord in a long, bitter song. That evening, I poured myself tea and sat among my packed boxes. A very level read a piece of my life, kitten memories. Bedroom piece, allò I gonna. I talked about the bons anys. Taz's tears, the years I spent shrinking to fit the shape I needed me to be. No more shrinking. I wrote in my notebook that night. Take itself is when you stop feeding them what they never earned. Take it cruel when you start saving pieces of yourself. When I closed the book, I felt something that had been missing for decades, authority over my own story. Away eclaté, the phone rang again. The bone. Mom, we're coming by tomorrow, he said. For what? To finish this conversation. I didn't say it like a request. It was a summons. After hung up, I looked around the empty apartment. The boy will move in next week. My new case sat on the counter, gleaming in the lamplight. The stage was set, though they didn't know it. Tomorrow, the mural battle they thought they win will show them something they never expected. That the woman they once dismissed had already walked away from their grasp. And that was waiting for them will not be anger or revenge. It will be clarity dressed in quiet triumph. Saturday morning came with a kind of quiet that warned of thunder. I brewed my coffee slow. It dripped steady as my heartbeat. The phone had rung down, the bones voice clipped. Certain, we're coming to die. Mom, we need to end this. I didn't ask and what. Som endins don't need clarification. Des que utsideu espala. De quin dat maques you fel bots mai ans tronat once. I dreced in a cream blouse. Soft slacks, shoes that didn't make a noise. Then I picked up my old case, one last visit to the plaza where I'd lost and found myself. When I reached the old building, the air felt heavy, like memory itself from the walls. I looked at the door. The echo greeted me first, empty rooms breathing softly. Boxes gone, floors bare. I sat on the floor, back against the wall, palms flat against the wall that had all 30 years of living. Footsteps in the alleyway, fast, certain. Then the door burst open. Devon, behind him, Taza. For a heartbeat, none of us spoke. They stared at the stripped pass as if ghosts had stolen the furniture. What happened? Devon asked, voice sharp but trembling. I sold it, he said. His mouth opened and closed like I'd forgotten how to breathe. You sold the furniture. Taza's voice was edge, brittle. Not just the furniture, he said quietly, the condo. The silence that followed was thick and out to taste. You what? Devon whispered. I sold it, he repeated, 3 weeks ago. The new owners moved in Monday. The words hit there like a final verdict. Color drained from Taza's face. Devon's hands balled into fists, not to strike, but to hold in the sacking. How could you do that? He said. Stepping closer, that plaza was my inheritance. You promised. I promised nothing, he interrupted gently. You decided promises for me. Taza pressed on to her chest. But where will we live? We counted on this, Mama Clara. And I counted on respect. He said, seems we were both mistaken. He looked at me the way a man looks at a puzzle that refuses to solve itself. Do you have any idea what you've done to us? Yes, he said, I've given you the chance to stand on your own. He passed, rubbing his forehead. You're unbelievable. You think this is about greed. We just wanted security. Security built on someone else's sacrifice is a house with rotten beams. He said softly. Stop passing. So what now? You get to play or will your sons out on the street? Devon, he said, and my voice steadied into something almost holy. You have a job, a wife, a whole future. If you're on the street, it's not because of me. Taza sank onto the floor, weeping without tears. We had plans, she said, dreams. I know that, so did I dreamed my son would see me as more than a bank account. There shivered between us. Outside, a corner could finally life going on. Uncaring. Devon turned, fury and helplessness twisting his face. Then where's the money? In the bank, he said calmly. Some about me as my plaza. The rest is for my old age. You're keeping it, I love it. Yes. Eloge once. Sharp and broken, so that's it. You've turned into a selfish old woman. It took a step forward. If taking care of myself is selfish, then maybe it's about time I learned how. The tremor in his voice softened. We were counting on you. And I counted on love. Who knew that works both ways? For a long moment, no one spoke. Then Taza's voice cracked through the silence. We could have taken care of you. We would have. No, he said gently, you would have managed me. There is a difference. Devon's breath came slow. You're paranoid. Maybe, or maybe I finally stopped pretending not to see. He frowned. Say what? The way you spoke about me when you talked I couldn't dare. His head snapped up. What are you talking about? I reached into my purse. Pulled out my phone. I recorded it, every word, the latte, the plans, the waiting. You recorded us. His voice arose, part outrage, part fear. I did, he said, not to shame you, just to remind myself I wasn't imagining it. Taza covered her face. I can't believe this. I nodded slowly. Nate called you until now. Devon sank onto the floor beside the window. The sunlight hit his shoulder. Could think him in half child, half stranger. Mom, he said quietly. You don't understand. We're under pressure. Life is expensive. So is peace, he answered, and I've already paid too much for yours. He rubbed his eyes. We just wanted a chance. You still have it. It's called work. It's called responsibility. His voice broke. We can't start a family without help. Then maybe you wait until you can. He said, your father did it. That name, father, in there like a ghost. When the bone finally looked up, his eyes were wet. You will be disappointed in you. No, he said quietly. I'd be proud if finally stopped living like a ghost based the living. Tasa rose suddenly, weeping shakes. You'll regret this, Mama Clara. You're losing your only family. I swore my shit. I lost you long before today. Today I just stopped pretending we were still holding hands. Taste to alter, uncertain, the balance had shifted even Tessa those lookets melee. The bone exhaled hard. What are you going to do now? Life, he said simply. Stared at me, and for the first time I saw it, the boy used to be flickering behind the man it become. You really think you can just walk away? I already did, he said. He opened his mouth, closed it again, then turned to leave. Tasa followed but paused at the doorway. I hope that money keeps you warm, she said. It will, he replied, because a pass dues net blankets. The door closed behind them with a sound that wasn't danger, it was release. I stayed in the empty condo long after they were gone. The sunlight crawled across the bare floor, talking the walls one last time. I walked from room to room, talking the places that once held loud arguments, quiet prayers. Thank you, I whispered to the walls, for everything. Then I looked at the door and dropped the keys into my purse. They felt lighter than I expected. Outside, the afternoon had turned to gold. The city hummed around me, unbuttered by my smile revolution. When I reached my new home, I set the keys on the counter and made tea. The kettle sang its soft song, and I talked about how freedom doesn't roar it whispers. I sat by the window, watching the street lights blink on one by one. Some were out there, the bone and Tasa were nursing their wounded pride. Some were in air, I was learning to breathe again. Days later, upon a kite came from a voice I didn't recognize. Mrs. Johnson, this is Simone, Tasa's sister. I smiled faintly. Hello, Simone. I just want to say, I can't believe I would do this to your own son. I let her words spill out, steady and predictable. I needed you, she said. You turned your back. Simone, I said gently, as your sister told you how often they visited me before this. How many birthdays they remembered. Silence. You only know one version of the story. I continued, the version where I'm the villain. But there is another where I stopped being invisible. She muttered something about selfish old people and dungu. I set the phone down. Feeling no anger, just distance, the kind that comes when you finally step out of a shadow. The following week, the bone sent a text, long, careful. Mom, I know we said hurtful things. I love you, can we start to be? I read it twice. The words were polite, but the spaces between them still asked for something. I didn't reply. The next day, Tasa wrote the bone trying. Don't shut him out. I smiled sadly. Trying is easy when you run out of leverage. I turned the phone off and went for a walk. The sun was warm on my shoulders. I passed families on porches. Children kissing kittens. For the first time, I didn't feel envy. I felt possibility. That evening, I unpacked my last box. Inside was Thomas' photo, him smiling that quiet smile that always seemed to no more than a set. I did it, Tom, I whispered. I finally said no. In my reflection on the glass, I saw someone I hadn't seen in years, a woman standing tall. Alone but unafraid. Weeks drifted by, soft and even. Sometimes loneliness would bruise against me like a passing breeze. But it no longer hurt. It reminded me I was still here. I joined the painting class and Ivo told me about. The first time I picked up a brush. My hands trembled, not from fear but from freedom unused to expression. Just paint what you felt, the teacher said. What I felt was sunlight breaking through dust. One evening, I found myself at that same window. The calling beside me, the city glowed and be, somewhere out there, my son existed, angry, maybe guilty, maybe beginning to say. I whispered into the dusk. May learn what love without conditions looks like. And for the first time in decades, he didn't feel unseen. He felt whole. The powers had shifted quietly, without shooting, without vengeance. It wasn't about winning, it was about remembering was alive this had always been. Because assumed power doesn't come from raising your voice. It comes from refusing to wait again. The wake after the empty apartment shut down. The phone didn't ring as much as it judged. Calls from cousins he hadn't seen in years. Neighbors with curious voices. Questions dressed up like concern. He answered the first few. Then stupid, my peace wasn't the witness stand. You don't worry on your version when your heartbeat already knows the truth. He kept my routine standing and smile. Morning tea, a quiet prayer, the window lit shipping across the floorboards. He watered my spide plant. Trimmed one browning leaf, tanked it for trying. Ruth called, voice sweet as pound cake. You coming to class, Clara May, where the cool feels today. Big feelings, big strokes, Sherlock the sounded like summer through a screen door. I'm coming, he said, and me and it, he needed pain to say what words would only bruise. He needed woman who didn't demand a price tag for their company. At class, Ms. Vance swept in like a gentle broom, clearing dust with her smile. No perfection today, she announced, just breath on canvas, let your aunt tell the truth. He set up at a corner table. Ruth settled beside me, extra bruises in Amazonia like flowers. Go to so many blues. She whispered, death and the kind. The first stroke felt like a siege that had been waiting a Fatima. He laid down a deep, slow blue, then a band of gold like late afternoons and finding a stubborn window. Ruth leaned in, that gold, that's you coming back to yourself. He didn't answer, but my hand did, lifting, widening, daring the leak to take more space than it used to. Halfway through class, my phone buzzed, a text from an unbake knew too well, heard what you did from Simona. Samaful, Clara, family is family, no name, just a verdict wearing pearls. He whipped my hands, put the phone face down, and pressed a generous band of wheat between the blue and gold. A boundary, a pause for breath, space where a person might stand. When class ended, Ms. Vance circled behind me and nodded. You found edge and tenderness in the same breath. She murmured, that's hard to do without lying to one of them. On the way out, Ruth shook her arms through mine. There is a community art night coming up. Folks and they work, no prizes, just ice, you sold so something. So what? He asked, being new, the idea felt naked. My stories had been public in all the wrong ways already, whispered. Twisted, passed like and meadow gossip. Ruth kissed my elbow. So you're lit, oh nay, not because they deserve to say it, but because you deserve to what it land. He said I'd think about it. On the bosom, the city looked soft, as if it had ironed its shirt just for me. The light sun turned everything honey-colored. He closed my eyes and breathed. At court that Sunday, the sermon was about honoring your father and mother, the old woman who made amen. He felt the words come and go, like waves that didn't know my sorrow. After service, two deacons cornered me in the alleyway. We're praying for reconciliation. One said, Deo te nodded, a mother's heart is a big heart. It is, he said quietly. It's also a tired one if folks take too much. The eyes blinked, unsure out of it that into a benediction. He wished them a gentle afternoon and moved on. Outside, Sister Lila caught me with a that smelled like cocoa butter and lemon cake. You don't know nobody you're suffering. Baby, she said into my shoulder. Suffering incurrently. He let myself be held. Some truths work better when they arrive in someone else's arms. Clean and uncomplicated by history. That afternoon, I una calendar page on my fridge with a magnet shaped like a peak. The community art night, I circled it slow, then pinned a sticky note baneat case and lit. I knew what I wanted to paint. A door half open, a hand in the frame. The old and holding case that didn't rattle so much as they hummed. Lit pushing past the threshold without asking. The next days were quiet. The bone sent 2 messages. The first was a picture of a house I'd already sent to many times. The second was sorted, I'm trying. I didn't answer it one. Tas a called once, then not again. I wasn't surprised. Some apologies are built like tense, flimsy. Lovely from a distance. Easy to fold when we're exhausted. He bought a cap canvas from the dollar store and 2 tubes of paint that cost more than the canvas. Priorities don't ask permission, they show up with purpose. On Wednesday, he light the first lines of case and lit. Adore, simple and honest, no funky molding, the paint went down velvet soft. A brown that warmed like toasted bread. Is que and the bonalines of my own anchored in the doorway. I gave it a gent tenderness and the steadiness I'd finally earned. The ote and the case. Not jangling, simply present. Then the lid, not a beam, not a float, a patient insistence, like morning learning the room. I layered it thin and true. Let it take the shape of something that man staying alive. Halfway through, I stepped back and covered my mouth. It wasn't perfect, it was better than that. It was faithful. On Friday, Ruth came by with sweet tea and nosy questions. You wanna show it, she asked. Eyes on the canvas, hands on cherubs like a for a woman encouraging a stubborn while. Eating yam, he said. My voice surprised me, sure without being hard. He wrote a my name smile in the corner. Not eating, just humble. The day of the community art night. He wore a dress the color of cinnamon under that doesn't apologize. He put Thomas' photo in my bag. Not to show, just to carry. At the center, folding tables lined the room. Draped with clean plastic cloths. String lights made everything look brave. Children darted between easels like birds that trusted their would hold. Ruth on 2 pieces, bright abstracts that felt like loud breathing. Se fused over my walk until the frame sat easy. Then patted my shoulder. Tere, she whispered, let the world do with it what it will. People drifted through, neighbors and strangers. A woman with a soft scarf paused at my painting. Something about those keys, she said, like Tere singeing to be used. But not by everybody. I smiled, maybe Tere just relieved to be without trembling. She looked at me then. Saw the story behind the paint. And nodded like a blessing. Across the room, I heard a voice now by its careful edges. Simone, I could tell by the perfume of certainty and the click of shoes that had never learned to walk softly. She stood near the lemonade table. Telling a new old list and the version she liked best. Words like ungrateful and cold traveled there. Tried to land, missed a mark, and fell to the floor. Ruth caught my eye. You want me to handle that, she asked. Tilting towards Simone with the precision of a woman who couldn't share battles and didn't miss often. No, he said gently. Let the wind pass. Paint will outlast it. Even so, my hands tightened around my paper cup until the lemonade made a moon near the rim. 20 minutes later, the room shifted. Not loud, not cold, just alert. Like a field when clouds slid away and the lid decides what it all have. The bone stood in the doorway. Alone, not as on his arm. His tie wasn't straight. His eyes were tired in a way he didn't want. But did, understand? He saw me. Then the painting, something in his shoulders slumped as if he'd been holding a door closed and finally let it swing. He walked over slowly, like the flow mid-startle. People turned, curious as cats. Gossip is a patient animal, it will sit still for hours awaiting a meal. Mom, he said, not more clothed than a toad. Are you meat bear? I nodded toward the painting. Is that yours? It is, he answered. It's called case and lid. He didn't add anything else. The room could do its own math for once. I stood there a long time. I didn't cry. I didn't smile. I just stared in that hungry way people do when they say the thing they've been pretending not to need. Simone materialized like an announcement. The bone, she said briskly. Tell her what she's done to you. The room inhaled, ready for drama. The bone turned, surprised to find the chorus line behind him. I looked back at the painting. Then at me. No, I said quietly. Not tonight. Simone frowned, thrown off script. You're really gonna let her. I'm really gonna say I'm sorry. I said, loud this time, not to me exactly, but to the space between us where a story kept trying to sit down and take up both caves. Whispers shivered through the room. The string lights hummed. Ruth folded her arms tight against her chest. Eyes breathed like a storm thinking better of itself. The bone faced me fully. I reached into his pocket and pulled out something small. Okay, one he didn't recognize. I held it flat on his palm like an offering that knew better than to demand. He made a copy once. I said, voice steady in the way a person learns from telling truth more than once. For the old place, he didn't tell you. He told myself it was for emergencies. I swallowed. It wasn't. It was for control. I don't have it anymore. I don't want it. I set the key on the table beside my painting. Careful as a prayer like that an altar without spectacle. The room conjects up around that little silver thing. What a thing object of old so mugwuron. So many intentions dressed as safety. The bone reached into his jacket again and pulled out Thomas' fountain pen. The blue one used to sign Christmas cards with the same slow loops used to make a life Ltd. It was this after the funeral. I said softly. I told myself he was keeping him close. Maybe he was keeping you far. I handed it to me with buttons. Wade returned like an immaculate back home. I didn't take a breath. The pen sat gently in my palm. I wanted to be angry at the theft. Instead, I felt the quiet lift of something returned to its rightful place. I started therapy. I said, eyes on the floor, then up, then steady, not to earn this moment. Just to stop lying to myself. I turned down the house. We can't afford it. I glanced at Simone as if I'd forgotten she existed. I picked up extra shifts. I paid off 2 old debts. No one clapped. It still mattered. The crowd shifted. The curious pressing closer. The king stepping back to give oxygen room. Somewhere, a child lounged, oblivious to all this adult rearranging. I studied his face for the old boy who once broke me dandelions like they were roses. There he was, tired and new, offering less than he deserved and more than he expected. I pointed at the painting. I want to buy it. I said simply, not to own it, to remember I don't get to hold locks to anything but my own life. The gallery coordinator, a soft man with careful hands, cleared his throat. We don't have a suggested donation. If you're serious, I looked nervous, as if this transaction might break the flow. The bone nodded. I'm serious. It took out a folded envelope. The kind you mail when you can't say things out loud. I placed it by the label with my name. Not looking at the number. Not apologizing for whatever it was. People pretended not to ask. Which is the most what king a person can do. Ruth laid hand on my back solid I barely felt it. The string lids warmed. They blew uninterested in no triumphs and confessions. Simone tried again. Reflects more than malice. Devon, don't be ridiculous. You don't need. I need to stop taking everything as if need is a crown. I said, not un king, not cruel. You can stay if you want. Simone, or you can go. This part isn't about you. She went, not loudly, just smiled. I turned to me, and for a long moment. The room faded, the painting whited, the case on, the pen rested cold against my skin. The three of us, me, my son, the space between breathed. I'm not asking for money. I said, I'm not asking for your will. I'm asking to call you sometimes and not need anything when I do. I let the quiet test his words for cracks. They yelled, not perfect, but braver than yesterday. The had been my eyes didn't spill. I'd cried enough in rooms that didn't deserve it. You can call, he said, and if you forget and ask for something. We hang up and again another day. A boundary is the way when both sides agree gravity exists. I nodded, grateful without looking. We stood there, 2 people who had finally lowered their voices to a place truth cold house. I didn't react for a I waited for the air to say yes. I lifted the pen. Your father used to lick his lip before I signed anything. He said, a smile finding my mouth before I told it to. Said it made the ink beave. The bone lounged, the soft kind that does need a bruise. I remember, it wasn't forgiveness. It was remembering we had unnecessary the language that didn't require explanation. The coordinator posted a thin red dot next to the label. Sold, it looked silly and only at once. Like a stick placed on a letska. People clapped then gentle. The way you do when a baby finds balance. When a kid lands a note it's been causing a rehearsal. Not celebration of a victory. Recognition of a turn. Ruth object me with sharking on my shoulder. That's right there, she whispered. Is public repay. Not policed, not warranted, just honest enough to let tomorrow. We packed up slow. The bone carried the painting to the cow is the caution you give fragile things you don't deserve but promise not to drop. He opened his trunk, saw the master, lounged at himself, and cleared a space. Back inside, he stood by the table where the key still lay. He picked it up, felt its smile fact against my palm. I'll take this, he said, then placed it in the coordinators lost and found bin. Someone else need to learn to return something. He told him, he looked at me like I'd just invented a new rule that made more sense than the old ones. Outside, the air had cooled into evening. The sky kept a little of its lit for people who needed it to walk home safe. The bon closed the trunk and faced me with empty-hands. Which is how a person should face a future. I called Tuesday, he said, not to ask, just to say he bought good coffee and didn't rush through drinking it. The promise was plain as bread. That's what made it strong. Tuesday works, he said, dinner's not included. Umo can do what medicine can, lose an state that grew to it under a hot day. We parted there. He went one way, he went another. It didn't feel like a split. It felt like two roads that had stopped pretending to be a single lane and could finally run alongside without scrapping. When he reached my apartment, he said Thomas pen on the counter and the receipt under a magnet zapped like a tin sun. He made the and sat at the window. The world trailed its golden enamel on the rooftops. Across the room, the empty space where the painting had undid an acre. It glowed a little, the way absence glows when it's earned. He imagined the canvas leaning in the bone's trunk. Quiet, full of breath, waiting to be hung. My phone buzzed, a message from an unknown number. Saw your piece tonight. Used to teach in the county school. Haven't painted in years. You made me want to talk again. No name, no demand, just a set. He tipped back, pain. The lids patient, but it appreciat as company. He hit send and smiled to no one and the Bariona. He was at my cup and left it to dry. He turned the lamp off and let the last of the sun walk me to bed. In the quiet, a smile took knocked, polite as a good neighbor. Tomorrow, I'd bring a key to the window. A visitor's key, not for anyone in particular. For whatever comes when a person finally saves a set for their own life. As he drifted, a note talk turned over like a page. Not an ending, a twist, soft and unmistakable. He wasn't waiting until of stomach me whole anymore. He was practicing how to breathe it without surrender if it ever found its way to my door. Morning light a tingled ribbon across my roof, as if the sun had written my name and underlined it twice. He brewed coffee slow and placed a second cup beside the window. Just in case. I'd moved a simple wooden kiter, nothing fancy. Just sturdy with a curve that forgave tired backs. He called it the visitor's key. Took some days I sat in it myself. Practicing welcome. The apartment had learned my. The kettles whistle. Pages turned at patient speed. A Bruce rinsed in a gelija. Peace over a house choosere, it made no noise unless invited. On Tuesdays now, the bon callet, we talked like neighbors who had learned where the fences stood and cosa not to learn. He said more about small things. Less about larger ones. It fit better. Submetim a describe the podcast like it was scripture. Submetim as admitted burning a grillet case and lodging alone. No requests, no angles, just a voice practicing plain living. Word by ordinary word. He didn't reward it or punish it. He let it be what it was, new muscle remembering what work feels like. We said what need early and didn't stay to bruise the fruit of progress. On a Tuesday, Kirkladie's deliberate pound cake in a tinul de dana yokeness. They fused over my speed plant. Decided it needed gospel music and filtered light. He promised both like a covenant. The afternoons were a kindness. Children rollerskated on the sidewalk like teen laws with glitter whales. He learned to nap without guilt. To walk without apology. To let silence be decoration instead of verdict. The painting's absence still glued on my wall like a lead plaza. Submetim as he took the empty square the way you touch a sky you no longer. Gratitude as a texture, mine felt like linen. Then came a soft knock that didn't presume. 3 light taps, a pause, one more like a yes with manners. He whipped my hands on a distuel and opened the door to my son. He stood there with a paper bag and the kind of breath you hold so you won't disturb a good room. He brought coffee, he said, the decent thing, he didn't pause sugar for you. He stepped aside, nothing grand, come on, he said, don't scare the peace. He smiled like a person who had learned not to take smiles for granted. And slipped in without scraping his up against the frame. The visitors waited by the window. He saw it, then saw me, and they didn't sit until his eyes asked if the came and him. Consent is a door that swings easiest when buttons lift. He placed the paper bag on the table. To of the seat gentle, as if cares remembeu or rusestem. I puret mai un cup. The quiet settling between us like a blanket folded just enough. We spoke about nothing first. We ateu his opinions. The bakery were take no his urde. All amons are brava for being so on purpose. All of the didn't react for his story, it kept its fate on today. After a while, en all the two are empty square on my wall. I un the painting over my desk. I said, steady, I don't let anything cubate. Even the calendar knows its place. Using it or worshipping it. I asked, a smile touching like I was a threat. A subject, some days it tells me to work. Some days to rest. I suppose that's worship with chorus. I watched his hands wrap around the cup. No trembling, only warm doing what warm does when it's not borrowed. The afternoon leaned. Yellow as cornbread, patient as an aunt. I started taking a beginner's boxing class. I said, kids from the middle school. Were not eating much, were learning how not to. I watched me carefully, measuring judgment that didn't come. Taking restraint, I said, that's a sermon with a tool for an altar. I laughed, short and honest. One boy asked if footwork is just dancing that forgot the music. I told him yes, and straightened it. We let that image sit with us, my feet. Big floors, the choreography of not falling. I felt Thomas Cook carry the draft through the room. Unbuttered, as if he'd stepped out for an newspaper and found the oven. The bone reached into his jacket and pulled out a smile from a wrapped in brown paper. He didn't rush it forward. He waited for the air to introduce it. He broke something. He said, if it's not attacking. I won't know till I say it. He answered, he wrapped a kill's drawing, crayons soldering across with. A door, a slant of yellow, two stick hands holding keys like suns on strings. From class, he said, we do all dumb drawings. One kid asked what Victory looks like if no one loses. He told them to draw it. He paused, he gave me this. He bought it for a dollar. We studied the bold plums Julinas that had refused to apologize. The word W en afluated above the door. Backward and as if the letters had run to the edge of the page and carried terror. I took maybe the visitors I could have a companion. He murmured, something that remembers what winning were practicing. He didn't look at the wall. He looked at me. Week was new. I took the frame, felt the corners press meaning into my palms. We can hang it low. He said, a level for honesty. It's your jets lonely, this one likes company. He nodded like I'd been waiting to agree. We married an aisle between the window and the key. The drawing sat there as if it had always had our address. When the lid moved, the yellow slant brightened, stubborn as a key that won't sit down. He didn't make a speck. Didn't cause a forgiveness with it. He put his empty cup in the sink without being asked. Rinsed it, and set it to dry like a man who had practiced caring rooms not his. We talked and a little while. The New Street Bando is plantains. A neighbor's dog that listens only to Spanish. A podcast about sleeping but that puts him to sleep before it talks him out. Before he woke, he said, nothing in the living, I wanted you to know we called as a with share well. We're separating. Keenly if we can. The trying we were doing wasn't the kind that grows. He didn't ask me to bless it. He placed the fact in the room like a so by the door worn. Not broken, useful for remembering where you've been. I nodded, may your next be the kind that fits. He stood, pushed the key in with his fingertips. As if noise were adapted decided not to accrue. Tuesday, asked, if the world's not on fire and the coffee's decent. Tuesday, he said, bring new smile out of holding one hand. Smiled, relieved by boundaries that didn't bruise. On his way out, he pressed two fingertips to the door frame like a quietance. I watched him walk to the elevator. He didn't look back. He didn't need to. The distance between us had stopped being an argument. It had become a way you could walk without tripping. After he left, the room excelled in that satisfied way passes though when people have behaved like guests and hosts instead of creditors and debt. He sat in the visitor's kite to feel what it felt. From there, the apartment shifted. The rug looked like a field he could cross barefoot. The kitten wore its clean like a soft blouse. The new drawing caught a square of light and acted pleased about it. I closed my eyes and listened. The building breathed. A radio met through a wall. Quiet and earnest. Somewhere a baby decided to laugh at nothing. I let these sounds braid around what used to be a. Latte, Rup knocked without knocking. Week is to say callet my name like a bell and waited until he said amen. Seldom collar grains in a pot like a trophy for surviving Thursday. Se saw the key, the drawing, the second cup drink on the rack. She smiled with a net till the room had to stretch to hold it. Well now, she said, look was got good furniture for truth. We ate in the good silence the king that season's food batted and sal. But we invites, it all share about the visit in 3 sentences that didn't cause anyone. She nodded, then passed the paper. When she left, evening folded itself into the window. The sky sticked peat to purple with an head lonely but cold thread. It turned on the lamp that warms without bragging and let Thomas spend beside it. I picked up my notebook and wrote what the day had taught, los that arribas empty and that can be beautiful when it also arribas on time. P.S. keeps a kite ready. Not alias, boundaries say slowly. Depon a bus Z11, a smile message from an unknown number, we met at night. I painted today, it's terrible, it felt holy, I lounged soft, I wrote back then you're doing it right. Keep the mess. I turned the page and wrote one more line. The king you wrote when the house and the orchestra not to jet, I did not get my son back. I got my life back. My son is learning how to visit. I set the notebook down and carried the visitor's key one inch closer to the window. Just enough for the light to find the kills drawing first thing in the morning. Just enough to tip my eyes were to rest. Before bed, I stood at the door and took the from where the bones fingers had pressed a quiet thank you. What remembers, so do muters, memorius et out, now it helped me place the furniture right. In the mirror, I saw my face not young, not old, true, the kind of face that has earned a soft towel and a clean pillow. I turned out the light, leaving the room a little golden on purpose. In the dark, the apartment wasn't empty, it was held. The visitors waited for goodies or for ideas that needed a set before a take cold speak. I promised it but not my sleep. Here is the twist no one asked for and Elizabeth for me. I am not expecting a knock to save me anymore. I am expecting morning. If a knock comes, there is a key. If not, there is still a key.